I know it's an unpopular opinion, but I just really don't think that in 2023 you should be spending your hard-earned money on something quite as overdone as a Cartier Love bracelet. I mean, don't get me wrong, if it's a piece that's been on your wish list for ages, if it's a piece that you perhaps already own and it brings you joy, by all means go for it. Is it the worst thing that I have ever seen? No, it's definitely not. But I feel like you can do so much better with the kind of money that these pieces cost, because I think the thin Cartier Love bracelet in yellow gold starts at over $4,700, whereas the thicker original Love bracelet is, I think, over $7,000, which is just a ridiculous amount of money to spend. And I'm not saying that we won't be discussing any pieces in today's video that cost just as much, if not more, but the pieces that I want to put on your radar will at least make you look and feel like you're one in a million, not that you're just one out of a pool of people, because the Cartier Love bracelet to me has become one of those staple kind of predictable pieces. It's like if you're into luxury fashion, you either own a Cartier Love bracelet, you're best friends with someone who owns one, or it's a piece that's on your wish list and you're working towards. And I feel like if you're spending this much money on a piece, you want to feel special, you want to feel unique, you want to stand out from the crowd. I mean, if you love the look regardless, you enjoy it, but I think there are some better understated alternatives that will add a lot more to your collection. So in today's video, we're going to be discussing why I think the Cartier Love bracelet has become so popular and what other pieces you could check out if that's the kind of look that you're going for, but you're looking for something a little bit more special. So if that sounds interesting to you and you'd like to know everything that there is to know about the Cartier Love bracelet and why I think it's way overrated, then make sure to give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe down below if you haven't done so yet, and keep on watching. I mean, if you're a luxury lover, you will need no introduction to the look of the Cartier Love bracelet. But I wanted to go back in time for the briefest of seconds and share with you why this piece was so revolutionary when it first launched back in 1969. It's a piece that was designed in New York, believe it or not, even though Cartier is an iconic French house, a brand that is incredibly proud of its French heritage. Some of their most iconic pieces were actually designed in their workshop in New York, and the Cartier Love bracelet is no exception. It was designed in 1969, and it was the first of its kind. It was the first piece that didn't require you to buy an entire set, because back in the day, people were really into this sort of matchy-matchy look. You might have heard of this big rule in fashion that your shoes should always match your bag. Well, back in the day, it wasn't only your shoes and your bags that had to match, but they also had to match your dress and your hat exactly, and you even had specific sets of jewelry to go with each and every single one of your outfits. The Love bracelet was the first piece, or at least the first piece from a house as prestigious as Cartier, that you didn't have to buy as part of a set. You were not required to have a specific outfit in mind. You didn't even have to have a special occasion to pull this piece out for. It was something that was genuinely designed for everyday wear and use. And of course, it was offered both for men and women. And believe it or not, back then when this piece first launched, it wasn't a piece that you were allowed to walk into Cartier just to buy for yourself. You either had to go with your loved one and buy it together, or you had to buy it as a gift for someone else, which is kind of ridiculous thinking about it now, that you couldn't buy yourself something. I mean, if you love yourself, treat yourself to whatever you want. But the romantic in me does appreciate the idea and the history of this piece. And in case you're not familiar with anything else other than the look of this piece, the Love bracelet is a solid gold piece that comes in several different shades of gold, in several different width and sizes. And it is a hard-shell bangle that features a screw-like mechanism. Now, back in the day when this piece first launched, they did actually feature screws that you had to screw into the pieces, but those I think were updated in the early 2010s because people kept losing these screws. So now if you buy a current Cartier Love bracelet, the screw is actually embedded in this really elaborate mechanism, which means that you cannot really lose them. So it is a really cool design. They were inspired by medieval, I mean, I guess you could say torture objects. They were inspired by chastity belts, which is just a fun little piece of history for you. So they were inspired by chastity belts, and they're supposed to be a sign of true love. Now, obviously, these pieces were designed for everyday use, which means that they're kind of bland and non-offensive. They were designed to go with anything and everything, and they really do. I mean, they add just the right amount of texture and tactile feel without them becoming overwhelming. They really look great on most people out there, and as I mentioned, they do come in several different widths in case you feel like that the original Cartier Love bracelet overwhelms you. There are thinner and thicker versions at this point. They feature just the right amount of metal. You know, they're not going to look too heavy on you or overwhelming, but if you have a wider wrist, these won't look too delicate on you like a tennis bracelet would. So the design I do appreciate, but at this point I feel like you can do so much better. I want you to spend your money on something that will make you look like one in a million, not just one out of a million other people who have something to do with these pieces. So I wanted to move on to some, in my opinion, better alternatives, or alternatives that I would love for you to look at, even if you choose to pick up the Cartier Love bracelet in the end. I don't want it to be the default. I feel like at this point, anytime someone thinks of buying themselves a designer fine jewelry piece, they automatically go to Cartier to pick up a Love bracelet, when at this point, there is so much more to choose from. There are so many much more elevated, more sophisticated, more unique pieces out there, even from Cartier. So why don't we jump straight in and start with Cartier. So let's say your dream is to one day own a red box or a piece of jewelry that comes in a red box. There is plenty for you to choose from, even from Cartier. I would love to put the Panther collection on your radar, which I do think is the best of the best when it comes to Cartier. Obviously, the Panther is sort of the brand's mascot, and I feel like very few brands do animal figurines and animal-inspired jewelry as elegantly as Cartier does. So the Panther collection is definitely one that I would love to put on your radar. They do several different bracelets inspired by the Panther head, and really the sky's the limit. It all depends on what your budget is, because they have pieces that start at $7,000-$8,000 and they go up to as much as 500,000. So it really all depends on what you're looking for. But if you're looking for an everyday piece, something that you can wear comfortably, something that you can also stack with already existing pieces in your collection, I would love for you to try the latest addition to the Panther collection, which is this really thin, delicate, flexible bracelet that comes in several different colors and of course sizes. That goes without saying. Or there's also one that features two Panther heads on each side of the bracelet, which I think is incredibly unique. You guys know that I also love the Panther rings. So if you really want to explore Cartier and it's a brand that you are intrigued by, you have an appreciation for their heritage and what they do, I don't think there is another piece out there that will give you as much as the Panther collection would. Not to mention that these pieces are so incredibly unique. I think they are head-turning pieces, and they will turn heads for the right reasons. They are conversation starters, they are interesting, and they're not just one of those pieces that people will look at and feel like, you know, I've been there, not done that. Not that it matters what other people think, but if you're spending this much money, I want you to make a decision that you're going to be happy with in the end. So the Panther collection is a great one to look in. If you've been with me for a while, it's going to be no secret that this next brand I have a sort of love and hate relationship with. I'm the first one to call them out when they do something underwhelming, which happens a lot. I mean, I can't remember the last time they did something new that I was impressed by, but I do have to give them credit where credit is due, and one thing that they do incredibly well is fine jewelry. And I really don't know why I don't see more people talking about their fine jewelry, which is going to be Chanel. We're going to be talking about Chanel's fine jewelry and their Coco Crush collection, to be specific. If you're looking for something that will give a really similar look as a Love bracelet would, but it looks and feels a lot more expensive and a lot more unique, the Coco Crush bracelets are one that you have to try on. They not only come in different shades of gold, so they do come in rose, yellow, and white gold. And I do have to say that not all shades of gold are created equal. Some brands, different shades will look really different compared to another. So when it comes to Chanel's, I do think that their yellow gold is quite yellow and their pink is really quite pink. So do keep that in mind, which in my opinion is a great thing. So they not only come in different shades, they also come encrusted with diamonds. You can buy them without diamonds, you can buy them with a handful of diamonds, or you can buy them fully pavé. and they even come in different width, and this is definitely a collection that I would love for you to try on. This is probably my favorite alternative to the Cartier Love bracelet, and I think that they are in a similar price range. If anything, the Coco Crush might be a little bit more expensive, but at the same time, they will also look a lot more expensive on your wrist. I'm not exactly sure why that is, but I feel like similar to Chanel, this brand does some of the most beautiful pieces of designer fine jewelry, yet they're quite underappreciated, especially considering the quality and the craftsmanship, which is going to be Hermes. Now you guys know that I am a big fan of their fine jewelry. I did recently do a video on my everyday jewelry collection, so I will make sure to have that linked up here. But today we're going to be talking about one piece specifically, a great alternative to the Love bracelet, which I know a lot of you are thinking, okay, here we go, he's going to talk about the Kelly bracelet, which yes, it is comparable to the Love bracelet in that it is a heart shell bangle, but I don't love it nearly as much as I do the CDC bracelet if you're looking to add something like the Love bracelet to your stack, because I think the CDC will blend a lot more smoothly with your other pieces. I think it has a similar edgy, kind of contemporary, almost rock and roll utilitarian look to it as the Love bracelet does, whereas in my opinion the Kelly bracelet feels a lot more delicate. It is also thinner and kind of a pain to wear, whereas when it comes to the CDC bracelet, I think it is a great piece, and a piece that is not nearly as often discussed and as often seen as something like the Kelly bracelet would be. Another French heritage jewelry maker who has been around for nearly as long as Cartier, yet has been able to remain a lot more understated, is Boucheron, which is a brand that you might have heard me talk about before. It's a brand that I really appreciate. It's not like I own a lot of their pieces, but the piece that I do own, I love and wear a ton. I think it's one of those, if you know brands. I mean, you will definitely see their pieces and you will recognize one if you're familiar with the brand, but it's not one that is as often talked about as Cartier, for example. I think it is an incredible brand with a ton of heritage, a ton of history, and beautiful craftsmanship. Now, if you are looking for that sort of one and done piece, if you're not looking to stack anything on your wrist, you just want to put one bracelet on and be done with the whole thing, the quad bracelet, which not only features different shades of gold, but also different textures and different metal finishes. This is a piece that you cannot go wrong with. Now, at one point they did offer the quad bangles in different sizes, so they basically broke down the 4 different shades into individual bracelets. But I have to be honest with you, I was not really impressed with the individual pieces, so I would say that if you don't mind spending the money, if you're a serious jewelry collector, or if it's a piece that you're able to find at a great price pre-loved, which I think you should be able to, since these pieces are not really common, it might take you a little while, but exactly because of that, you can find these at really reasonable prices on the pre-loved market. Boucheron is definitely a brand that I would love for you to just become familiar with if you are looking to build your designer jewelry collection. And then another brand that you might have not heard of is actually an LA-based brand called Anita Co, who has this incredible bracelet, which you might have seen on some of your favorite celebrities, which is called the Gia bracelet, which I feel would add a similar look to your collection as a Cartier Love bracelet would for about 3 times the price. I'm not going to lie to you, these pieces are by no means inexpensive, but they will definitely make you feel like, not only make you feel, but look like $1,000,000, because they do these Gia bracelets fully covered with diamonds, and each one is matched with a single larger stone. You can choose from several different colored gemstones, so you can find them with emeralds, with sapphires, or if you're all about the sparkle, you can also find them fully encrusted with diamonds with an additional large diamond being in the center. But if you're looking for that truly sparkly head-turning piece, the one that will stop any conversation, this is a piece that you must look into. Again, this is not for the faint of heart. This is a real investment, but if you love a thick heart-shaped bangle, something that you can wear every single day. I mean, this is something that I would be careful with. It all depends on where you live and what your lifestyle is. But if you do love diamonds, this is a great contemporary piece that I would love for you to check out. One more recommendation from a really well-known designer, a brand that is quite widely available, which is Bvlgari. If you're looking to explore Bvlgari, please do check out their Serpentine collection, which not only features some really cool rings, but also some incredibly cool bracelets. If you're looking for a casual piece, something that you can just put on and forget about, something that will go with anything and everything, similar to the Love bracelet, the Serpentine collection is a great one for you to look into. To me, it feels a lot more cool, a lot more fun, a lot bolder than a Love bracelet would. But again, it's something that depending on your style, you can wear every single day. They come in different width, in different shades of gold, and again, both with and without diamond. So we have looked at and discussed some pretty incredible pieces in this video, some that are more elevated than a Love bracelet, some that feature more elaborate mechanisms, some that are handmade, unlike the Love bracelet. So we have covered all of our bases, but what's the one thing that Cartier still has over almost all of them? It is this angle of love, which, trust me, I fully get it. I am a hopeless romantic. I am insanely cheesy, and if I can buy something with the word of love in there, I am going to. But if there is this sort of sentimental idea that you're trying to buy into, there's another brand that you have to look into, which is called Foundrae. And I do have to say this, if you live in New York or if you're visiting New York, you cannot miss checking out their flagship, which is on the border of Soho and Chinatown. You have to stop by, play with their pieces. If you get a chance, make sure that you have a chat with their founder, Beth, who is just one of the loveliest people that I have ever met. It is genuinely one of my most favorite brands because I love that each and every single one of their pieces, while they're not only beautifully made, which I mean, that goes without saying, I wouldn't mention them if they were not incredibly crafted, but each and every single piece has a beautiful meaning behind it. So if you're buying yourself or someone else a piece of jewelry because you're celebrating a moment in life, then I think this next piece you'll really appreciate, which is the brand's date bangle. It's a solid gold, thick, chunky bangle that you can actually have customized with any date that you want. And it's not like they will just take a bracelet and etch a simple date in there, but the date will be covered in diamonds. So if you are buying it to celebrate a special moment, this is a great one to look into that I think will be a lot more special than just a Love bracelet would be that so many other people own. But this actually brings us to the end of today's video discussing my thoughts on the Love bracelet and why I personally don't think it's worth the hype. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't done so yet. And if you have any other recommendations for us to check out, please leave them in the comments section. But I really appreciate you being here and watching, and I hope to see you back here with a new video really, really soon.